This documentary short was shortlisted at the Academy Awards in the documentary short subject category. But it's about Jeremy Lin. Didn't we already have Linsanity? Or is there more to this story? I'm John Stark from ActorMovieGuy.com, and this is my review of 38 at the Garden. I'm a blind film critic, and I typically review films with audio description, and this does have audio description on HBO Max. So if you're looking to check that out, feel free. It's there. It's a basketball-centric documentary. It's not really about basketball, but it is centered around it. So it's good to have the audio description there. Although I think the audio description could have done better. I kind of did want more from the footage that I think we got. I think we got footage. It sounded like we got footage. And I kind of wanted more from the who is talking. It's a lot of talking heads bouncing around. And we do this thing where we don't really know who they are. So it's just, there are people. And I think they named some of them, at least at the top, but after a while I remember Jimmy O Yang was one name that I heard, but aside from that, there was a lot of people that I had a really hard time tracking who was talking. Not that it really matters, because they're all talking about Jeremy Lin, so it's just something that could have been done a little bit better. I enjoyed the documentary as a whole. It's for a documentary short subject. It's actually really well produced. It's really well packaged. It has a clear sort of through line, thought process, beginning, middle, end. A lot of times with documentary short subjects, I either feel like it's not enough, or the subject matter isn't interesting. They try to shoot too small, or it feels like it needs to be like a feature, that they're cutting us short. We're not getting the full story. I feel that all the time too. So it's really tough to make a really solid documentary short subject where I feel like, yep, that was the perfect runtime. That was all I needed. And this is exactly that for me. I feel like they told a nice Jeremy Lin story. I don't think I needed 2 hours of Jeremy Lin. So to actually have this worked really well. They explained his rather quickly. I mean, they talk about how he was a great player from the very beginning, back in high school. They had people coming in and out, like Hassan Minaj, whose voice I recognized instantaneously. I was one of those. I watched every episode of Patriot Act, so I'm quite familiar with his voice. I was like, Hassan Minaj is in this. So I didn't even need the title card for him. I just recognized voice. And they were talking about his, how he was a top player in California, but yet he really was having a hard time getting a school to draft him because people just didn't see, Asian basketball players. So he ended up finally picking a school. He picked Harvard, not because it was Harvard, but because it was a D1 school. And he wanted to play against the best because he thought that was his best way to get into the NBA, as opposed to MIT, which was a D3 school, the two schools that did accept him. He, just played his heart out at Harvard and tried to get the best stats and really hoped that he would get drafted, and then he didn't get drafted. And about his sort of, I don't know if rise, it's really crazy to think that I didn't realize Jeremy Lin didn't get drafted. I assumed Jeremy Lin was like a draft pick of some kind, like maybe second round or something. But no, he He ended up getting picked up later by Golden State Warriors. It was his first foray into the NBA, and it tracks his sort of like going through the teams. I remember when he was on the Rockets. It makes it sound like he was on the Rockets for like 5 seconds, but I definitely remember because I used to play NBA 2K when I could see. I definitely remember playing him on the roster of the Rockets. Like he was a point guard choice for the Rockets. So that's that's how I remember him. Don't ask me what year it was. I can't remember. But one of the years that I played 2K, I do remember him being on the Rockets roster. I don't remember him ever being on Warriors. But I do remember him being on the Rockets. And then it talks about him sort of having this breakout performance with the Knicks. And that's what the 38 of Garden is eventually he gets to this great play, where he's having, he's been having like killer night. They finally played him and he just dominated. First of all, it's the Knicks. So yeah, I mean, yes, they need people to dominate. They're just so happy when people dominate. So Jeremy Lin got out there on the court and just was killing it. And then they were like, oh no, now he's got to face Kobe. And the whole thing is about how he faced this giant, To be fair, he also faced old Kobe. Because at the time when Jeremy Lin was, was coming up in basketball, it was in Kobe's, like, later years. So it was not, like hot off the press Kobe. The whole Kobe versus MJ thing was a little bit more interesting because MJ was not necessarily done yet, and Kobe had just kind of come in and was hot. That was interesting, but I'm sure this Kobe Jeremy Lin thing could only go just so far. But he dominated. He did a great job. But the documentary doesn't end there. It's not really about that 38 at the Garden. It's about the inspiration that he brings to a community. It's about representation. It's about seeing yourself in the NBA. It's about other kids who might want to play sports, seeing themselves as athletes instead of, as just other stereotypical Asian characters, and in other stereotypical Asian jobs, like, things that they're supposed to do. It's like, oh, look, I could play in the NBA. I could be Jeremy Lin. And about the kind of barriers that he broke, and also about what's been happening more recently with all of the anti-Asian American hate crimes that have been occurring throughout the country, and all the people who've been attacked, and Jeremy Lin's reaction to that. So it ties it all in really nicely, and it feels like it tells a complete story. And absolutely, having seen already at least a couple of the documentary short subjects, I can't remember how many. There's only like 15 that are shortlisted anyway, and I've already seen about a third. I would definitely say this. I can't believe this wouldn't get it. It feels like I got everything I needed. It's really well produced, really well directed, edited, put together. I do think the audio description could be a little bit better, but they do talk a lot. So that's the other problem, is that they're always talking. It's kind of hard to get that audio description in there. Yeah, it's a basketball doc, so yes, I did want to know a little bit more of the moves that Jeremy Lin was putting on the court. But they were talking, some of the basketball players were talking about all the stuff that he was doing. They're like, he was getting his and ones. It's like, oh man. So almost like the people being interviewed do it for you. But then I kind of also wanted to be reminded who the people are that are being interviewed, which are all, and for the most part, they're either talking from Asian representation standpoint, like they're famous Asian Americans, or they are basketball players, former people who played with Jeremy Lin. So that's what they got for this. Again, I really liked it. I recommend it. it's a documentary short, so I don't want to talk about it forever. But it's another great documentary that I think we got this year. I know maybe it doesn't feel like it's one of those like change the world documentaries, but it does remind you at the end where we're at in this world, with the unnecessary hate towards Asian American cultures, just randomly attacking them in the street just simply because it's gross. So I like how they tied that in there, but this is a strong doc, and I'm gonna give 38 at the Garden an A. That was easy. Hopefully it gets nominated. I don't always trust the documentary people. Ever since they nominated when we were bullies, I just lost all faith. I have no faith anymore in them nominating things that matter. So I don't even think they watch the documentaries. I think they just look at titles and go, which one has the coolest title? When we were bullies, I bet that one's cool. We're going to vote for that one. Fucking watch the film and then tell me you actually think that dude would be nominated for documentary. I will forever be bringing that up. Worst documentary I've ever seen in my life. In my life. I've seen thousands of films. In my life. Including the shit that Dinesh D'Souza puts out. Worse than that. It's offensively bad. And it's Oscar nominated. And I hate that film. So Oscar nominating it just made it worse. Actually, if it had never been Oscar nominated, Dinesh D'Souza would win that battle. But when they decided to elevate it, nope, became my new target. So subscribe so I can keep talking about films with audio description. I'm just trying to get that out there in the world so that we can get more audio description on films for blind and visually impaired people, so that we don't have to make choices based on like, oh, I want to see that. Oh, it doesn't have audio description. Or the family wants to see it and it's like, oh, it doesn't have audio description. Do I want to be the one who's like, can we watch something else? Am I just going to try to sit through this without audio description? What am I going to do here? So, that's what I'm trying to do. And I love films. I like talking about films, and I'm just like any other YouTuber on here. I know a lot about films, and you know a lot about films, so we can continue the conversation. I also have a website, macthemovieguy.com. You can go to Twitter and follow me there, @MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to Instagram and follow me there, @MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who is working on the narration, or just in general the audio description for your favorite films and TV shows. That's it for me today. I will review something else for you guys, and see you on the other side.